Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Hey,
Jared Brandon.
Oh, shoot. Who just interrupted me?
This is Jared Brandon down in Nashville.
Jared,
I'm always after Tony when I'm on.
I know. I'm having some fun. Jared, you just heard Jared. That's great. He's on the show. Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd. Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're thrilled to death that you are listening to our show. Woo-hoo. Yes, we are missing Rob tonight. He had some family stuff come up. Unfortunately, he was all set to join us. Unfortunately, he won't be, and we wish the best to his family. Not in lieu of Rob, but we planned this already, so it's not like this guy just showed up or anything. We do have somebody in the hot seat in the studio. Go ahead.
Joel Shinn from Lay's Guitar Shop, Akron, Ohio.
Yeah. All right, local boy. We're going to get all into what his story is all about, but can you imagine we're on the ground floor of the elevator. We're going up to like maybe floor 3. Give everybody a taste of what you're about.
A lot of restoration, refinish, building, sawdust.
Gotcha. Lots of paint.
Breathing it in.
Yes.
Coughing it out.
Lots of stressing about this is a really, really, really expensive instrument.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
You know what? I usually don't look at it that way.
Oh, well, that would probably take me some getting used to.
After over 30 years, you just kind of...
You've been doing this a little while, so
yeah.
we got a great story. He's got a great story to share with you all, and hopefully you might get turned on and say, wow, I really need to contact this dude and get some work. And you are located in?
The main shop's in Akron, Ohio. I have a second workshop where I work out of in Canton, so about 35 minutes away from where my brother is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And where can people go to see some of the work that you do?
You can go to www.laysguitar.com, but I post a lot of stuff on Instagram at Lays Guitar on Instagram.
Okay.
That's probably where you're going to see...
LAYS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just like the potato
chips.
chip.
Yep. All right. Well, in the meantime, we got a couple of announcements. Actually, there's nothing really to announce, I don't think.
What? I have something.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Jared.
Oh, yeah. So the Amigo Nashville Guitar Show 2025. That is going on Saturday, March 22nd, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And that's how you know spring is officially on its way. Mm-hmm. Whenever
right.
the Nashville Guitar Show is.
Wow.
Sunday, it's also there 10 a.m. or 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And usually, hey, I'm going to give you some insider tips. Last year, I met Brad Paisley. I know I can't remember when it's time to remember.
I got
never
a good
remember.
Brad Paisley story, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so Brad Paisley walks around there, and so does Vince Gill. They just walk, and I talked to Brad about the Browns.
Well, they have.
Awful.
They're not scheduled to do that, though, right?
They're not scheduled. They're just there to look at the guitars.
They pay them.
Maybe.
They pay them to go look at guitars.
They might.
They probably let them in for free, but usually
I would hope.
So there's a day on Friday where VIPs come in, and when vendors are setting up, it's usually when they walk around. But the last few years I've been doing it, I've been seeing them on Saturday.
Nice.
With the public. So come on down, and you never know who you're going to see down there. I did business with some other famous people. I don't remember their names.
Yeah.
But anyway,
don't they have shirts that say? I went to the Amigos Guitar Show to meet Brad Paisley, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
That would be cool. They should do that.
Hey,
Amigos.
Any way to make $1, right?
Yeah.
No, it's a really good time. They've got like last year, the food truck was there. The brisket was unbelievable. I remember the food they had because it was that good.
Stay for the brisket.
That's right.
Come for the guitars, but stay for the brisket.
And half the guitars you can't afford. But
more
still
than half. More than half.
But there's always a couple of pretty good pedal guys too that have all sorts of pedals laying around.
Yeah.
So
And that's
And,
probably
my
on the
friends-
rise now.
My friends from Akron, Ohio will be down there too this year. So that's another
Earthquaker?
reason to go.
Or you mean us?
Oh, you guys.
Yes, I'll be there. You said
I don't
pedal and
think
then
I'm-
Akron, so I thought
They'll
Earthquaker.
probably be there too.
But they,
Yeah.
but
might.
we'll be there.
Maybe.
We'll be there.
I don't remember them being there. So sorry, Earthquaker, if you were there and I just didn't remember.
Jared's putting the pressure on.
Yeah, for sure.
Apologies.
Okay, well, if you are anywhere near that area or need an excuse for a road trip, that would be a cool one to do for sure.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'd love to meet you.
And you can stay at Jared's house for free.
Everybody.
He's got a big front yard. Bring the tent.
Yes, Jared's got a big
The
backyard
homeowners
too.
association will love it.
Yeah.
Yep. Look out.
All right, thank you, Jared, and it's good to hear you, buddy. It's good to have you. on the
Thanks.
show.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
Thanks for interrupting me in the beginning. I loved it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Tony, did you have anything?
I don't. I
Nothing.
really don't.
Okay, good. Let's get on to what's going on in our music world this week. Tony, you're going to go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah.
And we'll check in with Joel.
Yeah.
And over to Jared, and I will round it out.
Yes. Well, I just completed a project for our good friend John Esterly
Yeah.
from Buzzer Effects. He's been dying to put together a Mustang that has a Jazzmaster Jaguar vibrato system and bridge. One of his favorite guitar players apparently has something similar to this. So he brought this over to my shop a week or two ago and said, this is what I want to do. And he's doing some unusual things with it. Now, the reason I bring this up, I know we're not supposed to talk about the things we do on a daily basis, but this is kind of a cautionary tale because although the body that he brought me was supposed to be Fender spec,
Yes.
I used air quotes there in case you can't see. My experience...
Meaning it was just a bolt on.
What?
That's just where the spec ended, because I know that
Yeah.
okay.
So, I mean, in this case, the geometry was off. And what that means is where the neck pocket sits in relation to where the bridge sits, in relation to where, in this case, a control plate has to sit. I had to do some finessing. It was supposed to take they said you can just use a Fender AVR American Vintage Reissue. Sorry for the nomenclature, guard. And so when I popped my template on there, it was just off. And I also went to he had a metal control plate, and I replicated that in clear so I could see where everything was going to line up, or in this case, not line up. So I ended up having to do a little extra work to make it fit better. And I already knew going into it with the Jag bridge as opposed to a Mustang bridge plate, it was going to take a little extra work. So, but it doesn't matter where, you can buy these bodies everywhere and they all say Fender spec, use this guard. And it's often, more often than not, it's not going to happen. It's a little easier with guards like for Tellys and for Strats and for Jazz Masters, which are kind of all one piece. But the body routes don't always, some of the people are using different files and they think are actual files, and they're not always that file. So, so the best thing to do, if the person you're buying a body from offers a pick guard that they guarantee to fit it, probably not a bad idea to get it from them, because probably 9 times out of 10 it's going to need some modification to make it fit properly.
Very exciting.
And especially if you want to use full-size pots as opposed to mini pots. We run into a lot of problems down in that, those lower control routes where they just cut them too tight. And, and I believe you should use full-size pots, but in some cases you have to open up the routes a little bit more to make that work. So there's cautionary tale.
Excellent.
Fun times.
Yes. Joel, aside from building guitars, what's going on in your music world? This can also include, hey, I just was listening to a new band, or I got a new record, or I'm trying some new whatever.
Nothing like that.
Okay.
It's pure build, pure
Pure
restoration, repair,
build. Okay.
refinish.
Well, that's all right. I mean, anything that was of note this week in your finishing world?
Not of note in just this week.
Okay.
Because I always have 30 projects going at one time.
Sure.
So I can be working
What's the
on...
weirdest thing that happened to you in the shop this week?
You know what happens? Is I do the work and I just move forward. I can't even remember what I was doing.
Wow.
Okay.
You know, that's,
He's a machine, ladies and gentlemen.
So Chrissy Hine didn't show up,
No.
or Mark Mothersbaugh didn't show up from Devo.
No. But you know,
There's no mice in the shop? No mice in the shop or anything
I
like
do
that?
not.
Or a cat?
I don't even have a cat. I've got some some strays
He's got
outside.
this operation tight.
But you know, I'm in a different shop than my brother is, and they see a lot more traffic. I don't deal with the public for the most part anymore, and so once I get in there, you can ask my wife. Is like, are you coming home?
Yeah.
What time is it? Well, you called me 3 hours ago. Said you'd be an hour. I'm like, 3 hours have passed.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock.
Oh,
So that's what happens to me.
I gotcha.
A lot.
that sounds like the time lapse of soldering. I'll start soldering something, and I look up at the clock, and it is 2 or 3 hours later.
yeah.
But you just get in the zone.
That's right.
And it's just
You should take some lessons. So, anyways,
why must you be so mean to me, Todd?
this
What
week.
about me?
What about Jared? What's going on
yes,
in Jared's
Jared.
world?
What? Don't you remember that I'm on the show?
Yes. You constantly
Please.
remind me.
I have to. I went and saw Billy Strings the other night.
Ooh.
And
Who's that?
are you serious?
Oh, you don't know who Billy Strings is?
I don't think I know who Billy's. I don't travel
I'm glad
in
at
the,
least one, but listen. Billy
Wait a
Strings
minute.
is-
He's an acoustic beast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He is
Yeah,
one
okay.
of the most he's one of the finest acoustic like shredders
Yeah.
of today.
He almost
Kinda
got
like
too excited and choked.
because I don't know how to talk when I'm excited. So we all know that. Anyway, like when I was a kid, I remember my dad brought home the cassette tape, Ricky Skaggs' Country Boy, and the actual song Country Boy. He just goes off on all these instruments, and he's got that old Martin guitar, and Ricky Skaggs is one of the finest acoustic players of all time. He really is. He's a great guitar player, and Billy Strings is even better. He's just
Yeah.
nut.
I
He's
have
crazy,
seen that dude.
crazy
I mean,
good.
I haven't listened. I've seen him on the internet and all that business.
Is he as good as Esteban?
I don't know who has to be.
Is anyone?
But let me describe the concert. I think there was 6 spots or 5 spots for musicians. They had a upright bass. It was a bluegrass setup.
Nice.
You had you had the mandolin, you had the violin, you had
Insulin.
maybe, but we right. The guitar, and you had a bass, and maybe another guitar. I don't remember. I was sitting back kind of far, but the whole place. We were at the concert, most of the concert, but the wife couldn't stand the smell of ganja anymore, so we had to leave. But he filled that place up twice. It was the Bridgestone Arena. He filled it up. I mean,
Is it legal down there?
2 or 3. No, but it just happens anyway. Nobody cares.
Huh.
But,
I got to see him though. I got to see him in the summer
Did you?
touring
Oh,
with
Billy Strings.
I think he was touring with Chris Stapleton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
it's
we
bluegrass.
yeah, but we got to go down there and he opened up for him.
Yeah.
And I was dropping off a Hofner guitar for Chris Stapleton's bass player.
Nice.
Nice.
So we got in.
That's really cool.
That was cool.
Nice. I did not get in, but I did watch the concert. It was amazing. The bluegrass, it's like modern bluegrass, but it's still pure bluegrass. It was just really entertaining. So
Nice.
for those who don't mind a kind of change in gear and genre, check out Billy Strings.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That would be a really good show. I mean, it's hard to not like live bluegrass, you know. Anyways, Cool. So this week,
Oh, well, how about you, Todd?
thank you for asking. I actually spent an extraordinarily long time, one day or 2 days actually, working on the new Four on the Floor that's coming. So I did all of my work ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it was actually a lot of work to set up, more than I anticipated, but got through it. Mm-hmm. And got all my notes, and I'm very excited. It was super fun. Lots of surprises, and that's going to be coming up in just a couple weeks. So I'm officially handing the Four on the Floor board to Tony tonight.
Okay.
And he's going to take it and have some fun with it.
Yeah, I'm going to pop some on reverb, see what I can get out of them.
Yeah.
Comes back, the bag's empty.
Yeah.
This is light. This is
Geez,
a little
I don't know what
lighter
happened. Yeah.
They must have fallen out on the way.
Exactly. It's going to be a really good one, you guys. I'm very, very excited about this. This has been a really great addition to the show, and this is no exception. I will give a tiny little hint about this particular board.
Yeah.
By and large,
It has a Peterson tuner on it.
it does have a Peterson tuner, but by and large, most of us historically are not necessarily fans of this particular thing.
Ah.
So I'll just leave it out there. That's why it was a really fun challenge. Anyways, onward and upwards, everyone.
Oh, I can't hardly wait.
I know, yes. Well, we're going to bypass the Four on the Floor. Joel is a builder and a maker and a player, but pedals are not in this man's purview, so that's okay. But I will say, I got this board together so fast because I got a big old pile of Tour Gear Designs patch cables.
Oh, we love those.
Yep, and I was very happy to do that. Knew right which ones to do, and I had a full mix. There's actually a mix out of that one.
Yeah.
It's not all top mounts, but
Do they offer like a grab bag kind of thing, or do you just have to say, I want two of these, one of those?
you have to pick them. They don't offer a grab bag, but they
Hey,
do.
Tour
You
Gear.
know, actually, one of the cool things that they do, like multiples, so like a 3-pack of cables. You don't have to just buy everything one at a time.
Hey,
So,
Tour Gear, think about that.
Yeah, a grab bag,
No charge.
or you could just put what you want in the bag.
Or you could, but some people don't know what they want or know what they need. So
It's
it'd be
not
like
that difficult. Anyways,
I have a hard time.
Go
with
over to tourgeardesigns.com, load up your cart.
Yes.
And you're going to need to put in a coupon code. And fortunately, we have one.
Oh.
What is it, Tony?
it is guitar knobs.
Guitar knobs.
The guitar knobs, all lowercase, all one word.
Yes.
And you're going to save 15%. That's 15%.
Yep. Coming
these-
out of Canada.
Yeah, and they're already
Canada.
They're priced
And
great.
I'm really hoping that things stay good with that. So
Well, I think it will. I think there is.
Anyways.
Hopefully, they're going to keep it under a certain dollar amount.
Yeah.
Doesn't get charged.
anyways, you're going to still save money on it regardless. So
Yeah. You'll
make
want
sure
them
you do
anyhow.
that. Thank you to Tour Gear for sponsoring our Four on the Floor. That's not happening right now. But in lieu of that, we do have a great story. Joel has been a friend first to Jared. I was introduced to him via Jared. And then Tony was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, we got to get them on the show." And this has been brewing for a while, but that's okay. You're here. It's an open invitation.
It was.
Yes, and you are here, and we are appreciative of that. And that was a long drive, so thank you.
Not a problem. Enjoy being.
You tell us the Wikipedia version of what Lay's Guitars is.
Well, it started in 1962, so it has a long, long history. So originally founded by Virgil Lay, and my brother came on in 1979 as an apprentice, and then he bought the business in 1988. Virgil took off on the SIT string brand, so that's why he left to dedicate more time to that. And then I came on in 91. And have been there since. So that's a little bit about the shop, and we do everything you can imagine. You know how some people stick to setups,
Yeah.
swapping pickups out, building nuts, and things like that.
Yeah.
But we will do anything.
Top to bottom.
Take it apart,
Right.
restore it.
What would you say that you are known for?
In the area for setups, but I would say throughout the country, it's mainly for our refinish and restoration. So,
Would it be? Well, I guess the way that I was introduced to lathes was that Jared had a couple guitars finished by you, and the story that I got was basically like you guys are like the go-tos for especially like Les Paul restoration and also the what you call it, the 59
the conversions.
conversions and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, the
Yeah.
conversions. Yeah.
Yeah. So my brother really took that on. In what we will do is take 50s juniors. Now there were something now, so it's changed a little bit, but
There was something.
10, 15 years ago, I mean, if you got a stripped down junior that someone took, the P90s out and routed for humbucks, what it would take to restore it is almost what it's worth.
Right.
So what we started doing is disassembling them and then rebuilding them into a standard, a flame top.
Gotcha.
So that's what my brother really specializes in, doing that.
Right.
And so we're still doing that. We're
Uh-huh.
still doing that. But what I mainly do is the refinish restoration and major reworking of guitars.
How does one get good at that? Were you born with it? Did you?
My dad built guitars.
Oh.
I'm the youngest of 10 kids.
Wow.
And one of my older brothers was like, "Dad, we should build a guitar." He's like, "I don't think we could do that." A couple of days later, "I think we could do that." We have a guitar that my dad built probably in the 60s. And it's at the shop. It's in a case.
It's the one out front, right?
Yeah, probably about 12 years ago or so, a guy comes with the trash bag and the headstock sticking out. And he comes in, "Someone told me you could probably tell me what this is." My brother saw the headstock. He pulled it out. He said, "My dad built that guitar."
Wow.
And he wanted it repaired and things like that. My brother says, "I'll get you a guitar. I want that guitar." So it's hanging on the wall.
That's cool.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
he built his own pickups. So he took my mom's sewing machine.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
The old sewing machines had that knob, so you can
Yeah.
take the needle up and down, adjust. And he put a plate on there, a bobbin, and with wires. Yeah.
Wow.
That is so awesome.
He's an
Do they
ingenious
still
guy.
work?
Wow.
That's awesome.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I don't even. I'm sure we plugged it in and everything.
I'll fix it if it doesn't. No worries.
But the neck was like bowed, and it was a plastic see-through board, and the dots are on the shaft of the neck, and you can see
Wow.
them come through, and so it
That sounds pretty wacky.
it is. The shape's wacky and everything.
Yeah.
But that's that was
Yeah,
the
he's
60s.
building it for kids too.
Especially your dad did that.
Yeah. So we have it.
Yeah.
So
So when somebody brings in something crazy, you are kind of walk us through like what does that experience look like? What are you focusing on? What's your actual like the thing that you really maybe specialize in? What do you love doing? Just give us a
So if it's a vintage piece, we're automatically looking at, what vintage value is there, what kind of work needs to be done. If the finish is stripped, how are we going to get it back to look right? Because you just can't put any finish on it. You can't put a polyester, polyurethane finish on, a guitar from the 50s or 60s. You have to use the right material, not just cellulose lacquer. If it's a gold top, it has to have the right powder for the top. It's not a paint. You have to mix it in. You got to get the color right depending on what year. One is more greenish, another's more gold. And then what we like to do a lot is the aging process. People call it relicking, distressing, but that's an art in itself too, because you got to get it right. You just can't start throwing things at it and, I'm going to put an arm wear rub here at the bottom of the guitar.
Right.
So really getting the color right as far as aging as well, weather checking. So we're looking at what can we do with this? What is the value of it at the point that it's at, and what could the value be at the end?
Is it fair to say that if you have like a really valuable piece in relative terms, it doesn't have to be, everything has to be super old vintage, but value can be in the eye of the beholder too.
That's right.
And some people are scared to do things with things that are valuable, even if they do need work. What is a common misunderstanding about that?
Well, I think the person has to feel comfortable with whatever you suggest. And some don't know. You said value, so
Well, I think a lot of people, if you look at the guidebooks and such, if it's a refinished guitar,
correct,
it's basically halves the value.
That's right.
But if it's done right and done as a restoration and not just a refin,
that's correct. So a lot of times people would, after we restored a guitar, they later on sell it on eBay. When back 20 years ago, eBay was the site to sell, guitars, even vintage stuff. People often would say refinish by Lays. So the person buying it said, okay, it's done correctly.
Right.
So it builds up a confidence.
Sure.
So, that's one thing. So helping the customer to appreciate that it's not necessarily bad to refinish it.
Right.
Or restore it if it's done correctly.
Yeah.
And in my case as well, if you allow me to interject.
You already have.
I know it. And I'm bulldozing here. So my dad's 69 Dove that he bought in 73. And, he had kids and we tore it up trying to learn on it and whatnot. And it was in sad shape. And the value of that, if it was in better shape than it was, or just unfinished shape, would have been more than what it is today. If I had it done today, but it wasn't, well, maybe not, but it just wasn't playable, just because of the year and what Gibson did with the ebony bridge they made, and they took that bridge off, but they refinished the whole guitar, and it was a sentimental reason. So I think once in a while you guys have sentimental reasons, situations where people may pay more than what the guitar is worth just so they can have that.
So there's a threshold of when does something like supposed inherent value depreciate because the fact that you can't use it.
That's correct too. Yeah.
Like a guitar that's wall art isn't as valuable as one that's playing.
Right. And I think you find on a lot of acoustic guitars in particular, almost, as they age, they're going to need a neck reset. It's just a fact of life, especially a 12 string. I've had a number of Guild 12s, and every one of them has had to have a neck reset.
I have one right now.
Yeah.
That's mine that I have to do.
I know a guy.
Well, and to that point, that becomes a more desirable thing if it's like, oh, it's actually been fixed already. It's like a house.
Correct.
It's like you can buy a house for, set number, and if you have to do a crap ton of work, that's going to make you reconsider that house, even though it might be the perfect house for you. But if somebody's already taken care of a lot of the stuff, it becomes that much more valuable.
That's right.
Yeah, my Gibson Dove now, I can hand it off to my nieces and nephews, and they can hand it off to their kids.
What about your friends?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah, you could hand it off to your friends.
I could, but even if I hand it off to Tony Bolonsky, he can hand it off to whoever too, like in the future, and it'll be fine because Lay's worked on it and they fixed the structure of the guitar.
Yeah.
Plays like a dream still today, and they did the work like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
So, in the world of refinishing, where do you think people are either, I guess, misguided? A regular person off the street. I inherited a guitar from my grandpa. Okay, and I'm like, well, I want to get this. I want to get it fixed up. Someone, back in the '80s, stuck a bunch of stickers on it and scratched, death on the back or whatever, and I want to get it taken care of. What are some misconceptions that people have about refinishing? And also, what is some cautionary advice?
So if someone's not knowledgeable, one thing that they might think is, well, if I refinish it, it's going to be worth more. That happens.
Or less.
But it's usually less. But it could be more than what it is now. Mm-hmm. So if it's in poor condition, then it's worth less because you can't play it, or even if it's just the finish is gone.
Right.
It's not worth anything except the value of someone buying it to have it restored.
Got it.
So if you're going to sell it in that condition,
you're going to take a hit on
someone's looking. I'm going to get this thing cheap, so I can invest the time to restore it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's one misconception, that some come in with something and just think, well, it's going to make it worth more. What happened? Okay, this is the misconception. You take an old 50s or 60s car. What happens to them?
They get old, rust, and don't work.
Then you take it to someone. You find out this car is now real valuable because they only made so many. Blah 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 blah. It was a very rare color.
Yeah.
And they take it to someone to have it restored, and that usually means to make it as new looking as possible.
Right.
So some people have that same idea as, well, I'm going to go take this and it's going to look great.
Yeah.
But it could be a guitar that just has weather checking. It just has the normal wear and tear.
Right.
And there's nothing major about it. Don't touch it.
Yeah. That's where I think a lot of people's fear comes in with, like, you get what is that? Option paralysis, or I guess, which is, and you see this all the time on like Antiques Roadshow and stuff. They're like, well, this is a really incredible piece. Too bad you restored it.
Yeah.
Because, or too bad someone did, because now it's worth less than half of what it was.
Correct.
Those are a little bit different because those are things that aren't necessarily functional all the time.
Right.
But a guitar is, and a guitar is meant to be played. A guitar is not meant to be hung on the wall unless you have a TGI Fridays or something like that.
So just an example, my brother and I were talking about this today, is there's a customer in Maumee, Ohio, great guitar player, and he has this, we think it's a 57, somewhere around or whatever, gold top. And it was painted red with like a paintbrush.
That's on the website, isn't it?
Is it? I haven't looked at it so long. It could be an old something I put in the gallery.
But it looks like it was done with house paint or something.
Well, he wanted it refinished, and he brings it in, and we're like, I start sanding. I said, Dan, the gold is underneath. Sanded it. Sanded the red completely off. In the next, try to pick out the red and red.
Right.
So in that case, it was worth. It took us
That's
twice
a painstaking.
it took twice as long as if we would have just sanded it and,
Right.
Shot it.
and then aged it up again.
Right.
But it was worth it because it's still there, and it's a story.
Right.
People love stories too.
Sure.
And if you have the story that goes with it, it makes it like live, and there's a reason for whatever I did.
Right.
To have it restored the way it is.
Right.
So,
Well, what percentage would you say of your customers are restoring for sentimental reasons versus restoring for customized kind of things?
probably not that much. Some come in with not a lot of knowledge and want it restored, and then you have that conversation with them. Is this guitar? are you going to do it just because of sentimental? And that does happen. And it's just not, you're looking, it's like, well, it's not really worth it.
Yeah.
Monetary wise, but it's worth it to the person. So I'm thinking of a story because it's there. I just can't remember the full story, but that happens.
Yeah.
Is someone will bring it in. This was just like Jared said, this was my dad's. I remember it. I need it to be put back. Oh, it was a Gretsch.
Oh.
And he had his dad's Gretsch, and he says, I remember the color. It was like a two-tone. The back was like a charcoal metallic, and the top was like a light gray.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I want it that way because
Like a 60s or 70s or?
yeah, and I remember when I was young, that's how it was.
Interesting.
So that happens. Is I want it back
Right.
to how I remember when my dad had it. That happens.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
But it does happen.
What are the in more trivial terms here? What is probably the most either time-consuming, comprehensive, or monetarily draining guitars to restore and refinish? Wait, Joe, don't. Oh, shoot. Okay. I was just going to say, wait, hold on.
Okay.
Tony, what you.
Yeah, you had me at binding rot.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we will get a pristine finish Gretsch, a Tennessean. It's orange or it's that walnut brown, clean, and that binding is just horrible.
And there's lots of it.
Right, and what makes them very hard is their routes were so inconsistent. If you've ever taken a neck off one of those things, it looked like a beaver chewed the mortise and tenon.
Wow.
They somehow got it in there, and it stayed for a while. And most of the time, that's one of the other problems too. But even the routes for the binding, so it's not like you can just take a route and route it, because you could go into the body by accident because it's a little thinner.
Right.
So
These are like small tolerances that you're dealing with, like really, really small.
So half of that binding went in, it starts to explode. You can just blow on it, it's just flying everywhere. And you're taking a chisel and it's going good, then you hit a spot, boom, and it won't come off at all.
Wow.
And then you're like, you have the original. What's the hardest is if it's the original finish, you're now trying to conserve the original finish.
Right.
And you already know that you're touching up.
You're going to have to reshoot.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard to touch up to where you can't see that, well, when I was taking this out with the chisel, it decided to take, and the sides are veneer.
Yeah.
So it's not like solid wood, and it sticks that binding and boop, it just pops off. And you're trying to grab the piece and put it back on and put some glue under there so you don't lose the color, the wood.
Why does it disintegrate?
What it's made out of
Yeah.
is cellulose. So cellulose acetate.
Yep.
So that smell, you'll notice it. It
And that's
smells.
what it gases,
Well, actually, it
gases off.
Yeah,
It
it
gases
was
out and it
celluloid nitrate.
Nitrate,
Yeah.
not acetate. You're
The
right.
acetate
Nitrate.
is the newer
The
version.
new version.
They
So
make eyeglasses with.
It's the same stuff that they used to make film out of.
Yeah.
And what happened a lot in, at the movie theater is those old lights that were actually projecting, if it stopped and came off and that thing rested on that light,
burn it right up.
and you might lose the theater.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Well, and
It's
that's
pretty
the whole
volatile.
reason that you even have the Ted Turner channel. He basically got in there and started like a restoration project where loads of all these old movies were disintegrating.
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up, but the Film Academy was hard to work on that already, but whatever. But yeah, because they go in there like, oh, the original Gone with the Wind films are like literally dust, crazy.
But it's crazy because you'll find. I mean, Martins sometimes do the same thing. Sometimes guilds do the same thing.
Yeah, in the guilds, yeah.
And but then there's others that the binding just stays perfectly fine.
You don't have that problem on Gibsons. I mean, they'll crack.
Yeah.
Especially if it's on the binding, they crack right where the fret is.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's just, it ages. But when you get a clean Gretchen, and we see that case coming in, and the case is clean, we already know what's happening. You're like, we used to, back in the day, we was like, you don't want to gouge people.
Sure.
But one thing I told my brother is like, you have to charge.
Yeah.
And the person makes a decision.
Yeah,
and
you're working for a job. It's not a hobby.
Right. And so it went from this price to one day we looked at each other, we're charging 3 times as much. And guess what? People kept bringing them. And I'm like, I thought we were going to get rid of these and we wouldn't have to do another one, at least maybe once every 5 years. But
yeah,
that's one of the ones you see coming in.
Are you able to share, like, what is the price tag that you recall for, like, one of the heavy duty restores that you did on a Gretsch? If you're not comfortable with that, that's okay.
No, just like for the binding.
Sure.
If the finish is pristine, I mean it's like $1,200, and I still don't.
Way cheaper than I thought.
And I still don't want to do it.
Yeah,
that's a.
Well, you're probably talking about 60, 80 hours worth of work.
I wouldn't say that much.
No? Okay.
I wouldn't say that much.
Wow.
But
I thought it was the way that you were building it up. I was like, wow, I can buy a car or I can replace the binding on this.
So, and that's where it comes into is if you really wanted to charge for the frustration, it'd probably be twice that. And then you start getting to, are they really worth it? How much more are they really worth? And,
yeah.
And that's one area too is, for those, most people, almost like a neck reset, you expect it to perhaps have already happened. So if you see one that's real clean, it's like, oh, someone's already did the binding to it. So good, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it flip-flops. It changes that value and why you do it or why don't you do it. It changes with each instrument too.
What do you love to see come in the shop? And it doesn't mean that you don't like all the other ones. So we know.
That's a
my
good...
1800. Yeah, my 1800s Martin is what he likes to see come in the shop.
If I'm not working on it.
Well, that's part of the.
If it comes in, and
it's your shop.
I mean, if it's coming in, it needs a setup, and someone says, "Look at this. This is cool." That's one thing.
Yeah.
Pristine, this thing is clean. That's the type of stuff you like to see. A Strat that comes in, it's like, I cannot believe, My brother had a 70s Strat come in, and that's when the change was made. The bodies were bricks. Mm-hmm. He got this.
Heavy.
It was a sunburst clean, like it had been under someone's bed. And he picked up, he's like, this is the heaviest Strat. And my brother looks at the guy, I'll buy it from you, but I won't be able to sell this. It'll take me years to sell this. So he didn't give him much money. I wouldn't say he didn't give him much money, just not as much as if it
Sure.
was lighter, that 7 to 8 pounds. I think he said it was over 11 pounds.
Oh.
Wow.
And
It's true. Swamp ash, right?
I'm sure they were just doing regular ash at that
That's
point.
what you get when you play
northern
football.
northern.
Hey,
Yeah.
Where did they get the wood? Why is it like that, Joel? Has there been any?
Because it's ash. It's not the swamp ash, which is, I wouldn't say it's the same tree, but they are ash trees. And the swamp ash is from like Louisiana, and because you're in swamps, those cells are so big. So by the time they dry out, they're full of air. So it loses most of its weight. Versus you have northern ash, which is used for baseball bats, which are hard as as bricks.
Yeah.
But anyways, this guitar, my brother's like, I'm not gonna be able to sell it. But okay.
But he did.
Puts it up. The next day, a guy comes in. Oh, I want that. My brother says, it's heavy. He says, that's why I want it. That never happens.
Wow.
But it's funny. Things like that happen. We can have a guitar sitting up there a year and no one even inquires about it. And then you're like,
One person
buys it. And then 3 people that same week are calling, you still have that? It's like, I just sold it.
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to happen.
Okay. For regular Joes who maybe don't have some kind of heirloom, obviously guitars are meant to be played, so things happen. What are some things that you would encourage people not to sit on, not to wait to bring in?
We're at this point where we're getting into spring, so the humidity's starting to go up. But a month and a half, when it got real cold, you start to see cracks form, or there's a dip in the top. It's because
for acoustics.
Yes, it's caving in on itself because the wood is just shrinking, and it's going to give somewhere. It's looking for the weakest link in the grain.
So it's all glue.
Well, just not that, but you're making it stop doing what it wants to do, is expand and contract.
Yeah.
And so when you have the sides of the guitar, those sides have been bent into that shape, and then the top is glued into those sides with the kerfing. The bracing on the top or the back is trying to keep it, from going down and up.
Yeah.
So once you start to get that.
It's like a bear trap with strings.
That's right. And you can hear them. You can probably hear 'em pop. And then it changes everything. So if you start to notice changes like that, take care of it right away. So but even though with some cracks, what we'll do is you don't repair them right away too, though. Is if it's just one hairline crack, they bring it in and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to humidify it. If it's about right now, we probably would keep the guitar. Humidify it, and it could take 3 days. I had one. I humidified this thing 3 weeks. The top was dipping down 1/8 of an inch. And it's like, wow. And I just kept humidifying, and it came up. And it's like, I told my brother, tell that guy he better keep this humidified, because as soon as the weather changes the next year, it's just going to go right back down.
Yeah. How about on electrics?
Electrics. If you have a hairline crack up at the headstock, get taken care of right away.
Or if you have a headstock break, I think that's something. If you let those sit for years, they don't go back together pretty.
And depending on what kind of break, if it's smiling up or smiling down, the repair is
explain that so that people understand.
I have to see it.
Okay,
but if it is basically, if the headstock's coming up towards you
or going away,
well, or sometimes the strings hold the brake. You can keep playing and it's broke because it's broken the other way. It pulls itself in. But if it is like if it is smiling up, it mainly is broken from the headstock down.
Okay,
and it fell over.
That is a hard visual, everybody, but just trust us.
So it
smiley face.
Yes,
it's a angled headstock Gibson with the short grain mahogany, and at that angle, you're actually cutting that grain even shorter. And someone's playing on stage or at home, and their kid's playing around, and my kid, bumped into this guitar, and look. So, you're right, Tony. Get to that right away, because if it's a fresh break, sometimes you can glue them back, and if all the pieces are there, you can't tell. But we would tell our customers, listen, it's a pick of the draw. It's we can glue it back together. We can keep fitting it, glue it back together. As soon as you put those clamps on, you can't see it anymore, and it's going to do what it does. And then we clean up the glue, and you can see whether oh man, this thing went back perfect. It doesn't even have a bump or a ridge. Put some sealer in there, it's fine. But then sometimes you have to do some sanding, and then you're blowing through the finish, and then having to refinish.
So as a builder and luthier, do you prefer a scarf joint or a cut joint? So a cut joint would be one like a Gibson, where they actually cut the wood back at an angle, and a scarf joint would be one that an actual piece of wood is kind of pieced into the tail end of the neck.
Can I get my guitar, my wife to get one
Yeah,
of the
of
guitars I'm
course.
going to show you? Can you get the one with the spalt, the maple top? And I'm going to answer your question right now. If I'm building a guitar, you kind of build for the problems. You're trying to overcome some of these problems that normally would happen. Yep, that one. So this one is Karina, a lot like
That's a nice name for a guitar.
Karina Limba, a lot
Oh,
like
no.
mahogany. But look what I did. So I put the volute in it, but I also, it's a 3-piece limba with the stringers in it. This probably won't break. You know, if you broke that, I mean, you had to try to break it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
think you see that, like a lot of the guilds, they used a multi-piece
Yes.
neck, and those
Yeah.
things are.
How often do you see a Les Paul maple neck, 3-piece maple neck that is broken?
Yeah, it's always the
It's-
mahogany.
It's the
They're
mahogany.
baseball bats,
Yeah.
and you got to
That's true,
hit
too.
a home run a weird way to
Yes.
break they're
Yeah.
indestructible.
So that I would do that if I'm building, just so it avoids.
So
That.
So you like the laminated neck with a and do you think the volute actually?
It gives more mass there, sure.
It does?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just did that because I don't usually
No, it looks
put one
cool,
in,
too.
and it looked cool on
Yeah,
on
I
this.
think
And
it's a nice feature.
because what I was doing with this one is throwing everything at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The binding I made out of acrylic, epoxy, laid it up, cut it out in a sheet, bent it around. And
Oh
everything.
yeah.
So
That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got a couple guitars here, Joel, and I think one of them for sure we need to talk about. That is this Telecaster over here. I'll grab it for you.
sure.
So what am I grabbing?
Todd is walking across the room.
This is a 1959 Telecaster.
Nice.
So it's swamp ash.
Not
It's light.
Not a reissue. That's
This-
a OG.
This thing is light.
So you brought a real one in.
Well, I had to do work. So
Ah.
it came into our shop and we bought it this way.
It's kind of like King Tut. You know where I'm going to go with that, right? As far as think
Go ahead.
about the actual King Tut, and then think about the King Tut that first came to your mind. Okay.
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No.
That's when I first learned about King Tut was from Steve
Tony,
Martin.
you'll get it as soon as he explains it.
Okay.
So the neck is original, the finish is original on it. I think it's just been oversprayed. The keys are original. It's a slab board. The electronics in it had been replaced. There's a hole in the control cavity. It looks like they put something extra there, another volume or something,
something,
whatever
yeah.
it did. And so therefore they messed with the pickup. So
Right.
I think the bridge is original, but we had Zach at Brandon Wow rewind that pickup, and he says he thinks it was it's like a Duncan
Yeah.
or something. But this body, it was
The body that we're looking at.
it was over sanded,
Mm-hmm.
so it's thin. Then it was small. That means the perimeter of it, they sanded. And then all the routes had been opened up.
Right.
So it's like, what do you do with this thing? It needed a refinish. It didn't have any finish on it. So
But it's still
a 59.
59.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's got the marking on the neck at the back bottom
Right.
of the neck.
Right.
Which is kind of odd that they would have. Sometimes you don't find that in there. So we know it's a 59. So I said, well, what do I do? Sometimes we'll put veneers on the face or on the back to build the thickness. But it was small from the sides. And I had this in mind for doing juniors if they really were in bad shape and we redid them into standards. But I put it on my CNC and brought the sides in about another 1/8 of an inch. I took a super light body blank and then made the route and routed out, slid the body inside it. So it had a slight veneer on the back. It had a little bit less than 1/4 inch sides, slipped it in, filled all the routes, then veneered the front.
King Tut.
then
The real 59 is inside.
yes,
Wow.
it's
That body.
Oh, now I go. Yeah, it's inside the
Yes. It's a sarcophagus.
sarcophagus. That's right. So 80% of the body's there.
Yeah.
It's lightweight. It rings.
Yeah. Oh, I can hear it. Yeah.
Which
So-
is that's a cool story. It's a cool way to keep a really neat guitar still out there.
So
It's
and
got
we got
beautiful color on the fretboard too. Wow.
we got to thicken it up and make it the original size. Versus if I would have just sanded and refinished it from
Yeah.
10 feet away, you can tell
ain't
someone
right.
really.
Yeah.
I would have had to even take more of the size down to get the correct
And it's still
chamfer on the
really
sides and
light.
everything. It's light. Well, I
Crazy
picked a one-piece body that had been sitting in my shop for probably 10 years.
Wow.
And I is super lightweight. And I said, I think this is good for
So
that.
it's a guitar within a guitar. It's like a little Russian doll.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what the funny thing is, if you look on my Instagram page, one of the biggest posts I have is another one that someone put a second horn on the bass side.
Oh yeah, that's wild, dude.
And-
you guys got to go check this out. Go to where what's the Instagram handle?
Lay's Guitar.
Lay's Guitar. Look for something that looks like a Japanese 60s,
Yes.
late 60s, early
Yes.
70s psychedelic.
And the color, everything.
Yeah.
Yellow.
It's
yellow.
wild.
It looks like yellow metallic to green metallic. And because I did this one, I already knew what I was going to do with it.
Yeah.
And the customer brings it in. It's like, what do we do with this? And my brother had written it up before I got to it. It says, either fix the body or make a replacement body.
Yeah.
And so when I looked at him, like, nah, I'll do it. But that can start a controversy. So you instantly looked at it and you said, that thing looks cool.
There's a coolness about it, but it's also wackadoodle at the same
Yes.
time.
So, and that's kind of the response I get. It's kind of cool as it is.
Yeah. But
But
not
it-
to the owner.
But okay, so this one I have here,
Mm-hmm.
if that's an original, Tony, what would you think it's worth? If it was all original from
All
59
original 59, 25, 30
or more.
or more. I mean, 50 up to.
So this thing came into us and it wasn't worth but the parts left that are original, the neck, the keys, the bridge.
Yeah. I think we saw one at the last show or one show a couple years ago that was an original Blackguard. And that was like, I could be wrong, but I thought that was like $200,000 or something.
No.
Or
Not-
was it 70? No, it was 75.
Yeah, that's
75
more
grand.
But that's a Blackguard.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
So the question is, do you keep it like this and just play it, or do you try to restore it? And the customer says, I want it to look right. Well, in this case, we bought it, and it's like, why would I buy this if I was a dealer and I did not do this type of work?
Yeah.
You're just trying to move it on to the next guy.
Yeah. Mhm.
Or you're calling someone up that can do it and says, how much is this going to cost me? I think I got a great deal on it because it's so bad.
Yeah.
I gave him $2,000 for it, but the neck's worth more than that. Someone might just say, well, let's just part it out
Right.
and throw the body.
Yeah. But you got a good story now.
Correct. And I'm going to write out whoever this goes with. I'm going to write out exactly what I did to it,
Right.
so they know. Because
You should get it X-rayed.
that would be funny. That would be funny. People are like, what in the world happened to this thing?
Yeah.
I see joints all over it.
Yeah.
But in this case, it looks
It's
correct.
It's a great looking guitar.
so.
with an original 59 neck on it, that's freaking cool.
Yeah, and if we took some of the parts that aren't original, the electronics, the pots, the switch, and you could find the parts for it in the control plate because it's got a hole in it. You could put a little bit more money into it, and
Yeah.
then no one would tell.
Yeah.
But then you would have to tell them if you're going to sell it.
Sure. Sure.
What's
But
up with it.
I think there's a heap of coolness in a jalopy guitar. I wonder, is a jalopy an archaic term that people don't understand anymore? Probably.
I know
It
what you mean.
probably
Yeah, it just means
says how old we are.
You can say a parts Telecaster. That Jalopy was a car that was put together with all kinds of mismatched parts or odd year parts, just to it was cool.
Yeah, rat rod.
Yeah,
rat rod.
Sure, there
Yeah.
you go.
Now, what happened to this one or that other one with the double horn on the Telecaster?
Yeah.
I remember when I first started, we were at our original shop. I was probably there a year. Guy brings in a 57 Strat.
Oof.
They took the horns. The horns were there, but they carved them down into points like horns on
like
on.
like an SG.
Yes, but it looked more like a bull.
Oh, God.
Then they did it to the headstock.
Wow.
And if I would have had some of this concept today that I had back then,
Yeah.
But you don't know what you don't know, and I was a young kid, and
Yeah.
it's like somebody messed this up,
Real bad.
and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, they tried to turn it into a Burns or something.
Yeah. But if I had it today, I might try things like this,
Yes.
and even try the neck. But
At the end of the day, it's a repaired,
Yes.
genuine vintage instrument, though.
Right.
I mean, there's still a ton of value in that, especially if you were a professional. You would have that nice, light, original guitar on stage,
Yeah.
and there's value to that.
Yeah, for sure. So you enjoy doing really getting into it and beyond the paint and everything.
oh yeah, I mean this. It gets the mind thinking, how am I going to repair this? Every single repair is different, and it's never boring. And can you imagine having 5 projects similar to this
Sure.
floating around, in your shop, and each
you
one.
brought 4 guitars here today just for us to check
Well,
out.
5, but the ones in the
5.
case is
Yeah,
the
that's right.
Sparkle.
Yeah, and you're kind of known for your sparkle stuff.
Yeah,
too.
have you ever done purple sparkle Gibson L6 S?
Orange.
Oh, that was the orange.
Oh, that
one?
was the orange one. The purple was
Yeah.
like the Jazzmaster build, right?
Yeah, I still have that. It's awesome.
Yes, I do Sparkle. Not as much. I am doing some this coming week. But I would like to do too is if I'm building, someone says you follow the classic designs because people love classic designs. And so even if you're doing a different shape, it always pays homage to those
Sure.
designs. Even like this offset.
Yeah, there's like
it
a-
looks like a mashup between a Telly and Jazz and Masters
Yeah.
kind of down at the bottom. But you're always paying homage to
It's
those
almost
designs.
dipping into a Paul shape. Just
Yes, a little bit. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
It's like a Polycaster. There, you can use that if you want.
no, we call it a lays, Paul.
Oh, that's good.
Lays
Yeah,
Paul.
yes. Yeah.
Or it could be a Telecaster.
Yes, that's true.
But what was I just about to say?
I
If
don't
I'm
know.
building,
Yeah.
building a classic design like a Telecaster,
Yeah.
It's funny. People come in and say, "Can you build me a Tele?" I'm like, "Sure. What do you want?" Well, I want a sunburst and like a 3-tone. I was like, "Just buy it." So when you come in to have something made, even if it's based on a classic design, if you're gonna spend the money, I'm gonna have to charge you so much more because I'm hand building it.
Yeah.
Do something you just can't get
Right.
from that factory. So one thing I do is I'll take fabric and wrap it, encase it, so it becomes more art just as well as an instrument
Yeah, there's
and a
a
tool.
beautiful paisley over here. It's not the standard pink. It's
No.
like a later paisley, like a late 70s kind of style paisley almost.
it's a curtain. That
I have a purple one, you guys. I have one you guys did as well, and it's the purple one.
Did I do
and
in
it's got-
cloth?
Yes.
I can't
You did it. I'm going to say you
remember
did it
that.
about 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have it. Dan sold it to me, and he said, if you ever sell it,
I want it
just
back.
sell it back to me.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty cool. It's pretty sick. So I'm keeping
Jared
that.
forgot that, and he sold it last year.
No, I still have it.
Yeah.
It's got the Fullerton reissued neck on it. It's sick.
Oh, okay. Yep. I remember that.
Yep. It's got binding on it too. I love it.
You mind if I tell you, a story about some of the people that have come
I'm
into
sorry.
the shop?
We really don't have time for
No,
this. Right
okay, that was fun. Thanks for coming in.
Too bad. Yeah, too
I
bad.
want to hear the Jimmy Page one. Is there a Jimmy Page story? Is it really
Yes.
true?
Yeah. And we didn't find out until it was printed in one of the guitar magazines.
Wow.
Back when Virgil had the shop, this was way before my time, when Joe Walsh used to be in Kent, Ohio, which was only 20 minutes from our shop. He used to come in and bring Virgil all kinds of things. And he would have a vintage telly, and he wanted it, a 20-inch radius on it. You pull the frets. You sure you want to do this? Yes, do it. So he would always have Virgil do these wacky things. He had two, I'm not sure if they were 58, 59s, what they were, but they were flame tops. Back in the 70s or wherever, what time it was, they were hard to get, but, they aren't what they are today, $400,000 guitars. But because someone played one and has a sound, now everyone wants that sound. Even like today, how what pedal's that guy playing? I got to play it. Well, it was the guitar back then, and maybe the amp too. The combination. So Joe had two, and one he had brought to Virgil and had the neck thinned down. And what Virgil would do is he would drill a hole up towards like the first fret and then down by the 14th. I mean the 12th. So he knew how deep the truss rod was. He could drill a hole, stick a toothpick in, mark it, and he knew how much he could take it down. Because you start going through it and you can blow through to the truss rod, you're done. So we knew he did it because that's what Virgil did. Dan's like, I remember Virgil used to do that. So that was done, thinned down, finished back, back in the 70s. And then I guess Jimmy Page heard that he had two of these and he wanted one. So Joe flew out to New York or wherever he was at the time, and he picked the one that we shaved the neck on.
Oh,
So that's number one,
Wow.
That's Jimmy Page number one.
Wow.
Now that thing has been modified, but if that would ever come up to auction, it doesn't make a
Millions.
difference if it's not original.
Yeah.
It's
Millions.
his. Yeah. So someone called us and let us know that story,
That's wild.
and then he says, "I'm sending you a Les Paul, and I want you to do the same thing." And then we had several other people after I read that. Can you do that to mine?
Interesting.
I'm gonna drill a hole in it. Yeah.
So is part of that mod that you can still see? Like, is there a hole, like a hole that you can? That you
Well, it
can
was
see?
filled. It's filled.
Yeah.
So if you do a good job, it can be the where you hardly see it.
Yeah.
But it
that,
depends
that
on
would
the-
be. I mean, I could see somebody saying, "No, I want to see the holes because this is exact." Then I got the
Yeah, you
I
would.
got the Jimmy Page.
If you're
mark.
looking at it, you would see it. But
Yeah.
at first glance, if you did it good, it's not obnoxiously staring at you.
Yeah.
But you're
It's
like,
a
hey, look.
toothpick.
It's still, but you know how guitar players are. It's like it's the silly stuff. You say, yeah, but that's there, and that's why I like it.
You'd
Or
probably want an inlay put into it.
no, I wouldn't. I would want to make sure that the holes are there because I can say, see, it's got
See,
it's got the
looks like
Jimmy
that.
Page mod.
Yeah.
It's got
So
the
now you're
lace
gonna get
hole.
a whole bunch of Jimmy Page mods coming here.
Yeah, keep them 58s and 59s coming in, right?
Yeah. So it says, do you still have those specs from that? I'm like, no, there was no specs. You didn't. You did towards feel.
Yeah,
That's all it was. And
There certainly isn't any if you're drilling to figure out how.
that's right.
That's metal right there. I better stop.
I hit it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the cool stories.
Wow,
and,
that
and
is-
like I said, we didn't know until that article came out, and someone says, there's an article about that guitar.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And
Yeah. How about you personally? What's one to tell the the ancestors about that occurred to you, that happened to you, some sort of famous guitar lore?
That probably would be the coolest, but it didn't happen to me. But our shop.
Right.
I mean, you guys did the Pete Townsend.
Yes.
That's a big one.
There was a guy that came in and he had 2.
Was Jared the guy that called you and told you about the Jimmy Page thing, or because he's
No, it was
filling in all your history here?
But see, he remembers it because
Yeah.
the guy that told us actually had his own website and put it in there, and then he posted a real nice designer.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a real nice page.
Yeah.
But I think other people have read that too. That's
Sure.
probably where they got the story. And then he called us, and that's when he said, "I want the same thing done." Then
Right.
he said, "Go here, online, and you can read the article."
Yeah.
What was the Townsend story?
So I think the guy's out of New York, but Townsend used to number his guitars
Right.
and then drop them, kick them, bust them. Mm-hmm. And then his tech would just glue them back together and try to, get him ready for the next show just so that he can do it all over again. And years later, I guess the tech had 2 of these guitars. And he ended up getting into this guy. And so we had to do some work so that they are not falling apart. But that's one thing we didn't
Are
try
they
to make.
playable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was one thing we didn't put wood in it and try to paint it a color so you couldn't see it. You
No, you
want
want
to
to see all
it.
it. Yeah.
So you just try to make it go back, put it back as well as possible, glue it up, and clean it all up so it looked decent
Sure.
as far as put back
Do
together.
you remember which numbers those were?
No. But those changed. I don't. I'm not a historian, so I'm not sure.
So they were
why he
less
numbered 'em.
called deluxes.
Yes,
They were deluxes,
yes.
and
With
they
the
were
third
routed
pickup.
out for an extra 2. Yeah, and they were.
Oh, that's right.
routed
Yep,
out
you're
for-
right.
For extra pots too, as
Yes.
well.
Yep.
Yes. But I wouldn't say if you saw a picture and it said number 6 on it, it's the same number 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could have had, if he retired a guitar, it got destroyed, then another guitar became number 6. That's my impression.
Oh.
That's my impreson. I could
Okay.
be wrong because I'm not a historian, but that's kind of how I looked at it.
She went through a lot.
Yeah. So, once you couldn't play one, you had to replace it. And he might get one just that's the same guitar and
Right.
it just took its place. That's
Interesting.
my understanding. of it.
Okay. Well, because I know some of those ended up in the crowd and stuff.
Oh, I'm
You
sure,
know,
yeah.
like parts and necks and all kinds of. Anyhow, well, cool, man. I really appreciate you sharing all this good stuff. It's, we live in a place in Ohio where I'm not native here, so there's loads of people that have been doing stuff like yourself for a long time that I'm constantly getting introduced to, and it's cool that we're all living here and you're up there and all that good stuff.
Well, I just wanted to say that back in the '80s, it was a journey to go to. I grew up in the Youngstown area, and Akron was.
Yes, Tony, we know every podcast you tell us. I grew up in Youngstown. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to come across this table. I'll tell you.
You know how
Yes.
it feels, don't you? You get picked
Yeah.
on by Todd.
But anyhow, what I was going to say
He's the polka
before.
kabasa queen of 1972.
What I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted by our friend Todd is in the 80s, that was the place to go in northeastern Ohio. If you needed something good. I mean, I think the first thing I bought from Virgil was a 16-channel snake that we needed for, to run sound.
Jeez.
And then I probably picked up some amps and things over time because Youngstown didn't have a lot of stuff. There were a couple of stores. They were PV dealers and that sort of thing. But yeah, that was we'd go to stop at Kent and then head over to Akron and so I think the reputation is still there. And if you need restoration work, if you need repair work, there's a guy to call.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so. It's still there. I hope so.
Yeah.
We try.
Good. Well, we got some stuff we got to take care of. Jared?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's come to one of our favorite parts of the show, and we're all going to play a little game after we've, packed up the El Camino and come on down to Nashville. We're going to play a little game of Would You Rather?
I thought you were putting new tires on the El Camino and bringing that back up here.
That is so beautiful. I love that.
All right, let's do it.
So, this Would You Rather is from one of our favorite listeners, Michael, and this is his last name, Nazionale.
Yeah,
I think that's how you say it.
That's how
you can just go. You know what? Let's hit that again.
Nazionale.
Lean into it. Get when you're getting up
Just
in the high
really-
register.
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
I gotcha. Yep. This week's Would You Rather is from Mike Nazionale.
There
That's
we
a
go.
good one.
Got
That's a
rid of
good
that
one.
earwax.
Yeah.
So, you arrive at a very important gig to discover that in haste, you left your house without your guitar. Oh, man. Panic sets in. The owner tells you there are several old guitars in the storage room. You rush back to check. In the corner are 3 guitars. In one corner, it's a Fender Strat with only the bridge pickup. It has a broken pickup selector, and both volume and tone pots are missing. So all 3 pots are missing. You don't know where the settings are. Or a Fender Jaguar in one of the other corners with the low E, D, and B strings missing. A frozen locking nut. So you can't replace the strings from the other 2 guitars. Or in the third corner, you got a Gibson Les Paul with a bowed up neck at the 9th fret. Unplayable below the 9th and causing buzzing from the 10th to the 12th fret. But the selector switch and volume and tone pots are all working fine. However, both pickups are rusted and damaged. So your band goes on in 5 minutes. Which guitar do you play? Thank you, Mike. Not you, Nale.
All right. So, just a quick rehash. Strat, broken pickup selector, and both tone pots are missing. Fender Jag, E, D, and B strings are missing, and a frozen locking nut, and a Gibson Les Paul with a bowed neck, unplayable past the 10th without full buzz. Generally speaking, there's more to them, but there we go. All right. Tanya.
In my humble opinion, you got no business going above the 10th fret. I'm taking the Les Paul. Give me them cowboy chords, baby.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, the other 2 are just. I mean, the Strat is kind of a roll of the dice, and the Jag is probably totally unplayable.
It should really only be played with the bridge pickup.
Vintage bridge pickups on Strats, you really need to beef them up, outside of the guitar.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
So Les Paul for me.
Okay. Jared.
Really tough. I got to play above the 10th, so I'll probably go with the Strat.
Yeah, Jared likes
I'll
the
probably
wiggly
go with
wiggly
that.
bits.
I gotta do that. I'm gonna take that, but and probably a bunch of pedals too to boost up that bridge pickup.
That doesn't count. Okay.
I think I'm going with the Les Paul too.
Okay. Good
Todd.
enough.
In I'm thinking as a repairman too. That last 5 minutes, I'm trying to see what I can do to get that bow out and stuff like that. Over your knee,
exactly.
Anything,
Holding it
What if
over
it's maple though?
steam
Good luck
pots.
if it's maple. Yeah.
Well, I'm
You're going with the Strat, Todd.
definitely not taking a Strat. But I'm with Tony. I'm not spending a whole lot of time past number 10. Here and there, I do that.
Yeah.
Here and there. But by and large, I'm going to keep it legit above that, and I will happily take that Les Paul.
The numbskull that works for Gibson picked the Strat.
I'm reporting him.
What?
I know.
What?
Yep. Well, thank you, Mike Nazionale, for the great Would You Rather. We appreciate it. He sent us a couple others too, which we'll get to in the near future.
Thank
if you've
goodness.
got a Would You Rather that you would like us to handle on air, please send it our way. We love things that have to do with impossibilities, time machines, crazy genies, and
Ghosts
and
of Frank
strange
Zappa.
vans that drop you off in sketchy parts of areas.
Sometimes
Anyways,
going back in time.
yes.
Or forward.
We need to thank a few people, and then we're going to wrap this up so that our guests can get home before midnight.
Yes, indeed. Todd, at this point of the show is a time we love to thank a special group of people. These are our executive producers.
That's right.
Now, an executive producer helps make this show possible. How do you become one? You head over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and check out a couple different levels in which you can participate, become a sponsor, a friend, a hero of the podcast. Each level comes with some very nice thank you gifts and opportunities to win great stuff and get a special thank you note from Todd, our fearless leader. But in addition to that, there's one thing more, I'm told. What would that be?
Yeah. You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing. It's so nice to have you say that again, Jared.
I love being here.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here, buddy.
Your name read on the thing, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers. Anthony Lathrop, Brett Hogarth, Cameron Pampas, Darren Gregory, Don Kloss, Elad Mizrahi, James Bell, James White, John Esterly from Rare Buzzer Effects, John Sebastian, John Halverson. We got a bunch of Johns. Justin Jones, Ken Sayers, Michael Senchuk, Mike Davenport, Owen Eads, Plutone, Ralph Gottschalk from Wonderful Audio Technology. What? Richard Kendall, Rick Calhoun, Rusty Sneeden, Stefan Lamb, Tom Brazen, Trevor Ellenberg, Trevor Gunberg, Vader and Pedals, and new this week, bumping Owen Eads off of the top new guy,
Uh-oh.
is our good friend and new friend, Ty Barnes.
Welcome, Ty Barnes.
You're in good
Glad
company,
you're here.
Ty. Thank you.
That was a great
Yep.
surprise right before the show started. I was like, whoa, what?
But you
That's
know,
right.
Todd,
Yes.
there's another
intimately.
group of executive producers.
I
We
know
call them our
this.
grand poobahs. Mm-hmm. These are the top of the heap, the A number ones, the creme de la creme.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I knew it was in there somewhere.
You were
There's
just thinking
words.
of Boston
Words.
donut.
Creme de la
Yes.
creme.
They wear the fez while it's in the podcast.
They wear a fez,
I see
as,
it.
Yeah.
as seen here in the studio. Whoops.
They drink Orange Crush.
No, it's Orange Gatorade.
Oh,
Orange Crush was just getting too expensive,
Yes.
so we've moved on to Orange Gatorade.
cavities.
Fanta.
We could get Fanta.
Yeah.
So special thanks to these grand poobahs. Anthony Gemalero, Billy Spitfire Unlimited, Bob Crouch, Brian Robinson, Cody Foster, David Kaminga, David Tyndall, Enrico Fernando, Fox Hill Studio, Gregory Randall, Hex Matos, another guy from up north in Ohio, John Williams, Martin Cliff, Matt Hart, Michael Van Zant, Michio Murakishi, Mike Nazionale, Moon Guitars, Pedro Vasquez, Sam Jett, Steve Keys, James Pennington, Zach Oswald from Brandon Wound Pickups,
My guy.
and Jonathan Labate from M2 Labs.
Yes.
I'm wearing my M2 shirt today.
That's a great shirt.
Yes.
I wore it last week. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for sending those out to us.
And you know what? One thing I wanted to mention, I
that?
listened to the episode and I kept saying clone, and it's clon.
What?
Couldn't you
Oops.
have edited me out?
No, I didn't hear that part.
I kept saying
I don't hear you.
the anti-clone.
Oh, well, that's your problem.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
It is my problem.
Thank you, one and all, for supporting our show. I cannot tell you how much it means to us. It truly, truly keeps this thing going, and we truly appreciate it. If you are thinking about it, if you're on the fence, if you're like, I really like this show, and I want them to keep doing it, and or maybe I just, I've got a really rich auntie, and she sent me. She says, "I don't know,
Do something
whatever.
nice
Just
with this money.
take a leap off the fence and support us. We really appreciate it. Thank
It's
you.
the right thing to do.
All right, we need to say a huge thank you to Joel Shinn for dropping in via Lay's guitar, and thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having us. Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
My lovely wife is here with me. She came
Yes,
and
she
took the
is.
trek all the way down. And tomorrow's our anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
21 years.
Wow, no kidding.
She's put up with me all this time.
Nice.
Well done.
Nice.
Well done. Yeah,
She's a lovely lady.
He owes you at least one more of those on the way back home. Yeah.
How can people check out the things that you do again?
I'd say mainly on Instagram. Lay's Guitar on Instagram. Check us out. And
Contact you there.
yeah,
Okay.
I take a lot of messages there, and I post things, and people say, "Hey, can you build me that?"
Yeah.
So I
Sounds
like
good.
that. I like that Instagram.
I like it too. All right, Tony.
Yep. Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out the things that I do. What do? I make custom pick guards for guitars. How do you get one? Shoot me an email. Let me know what you need, what you're trying to do, what materials you need, all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I will make something special for you.
Excellent.
It's your opportunity to make your guitar even more yours.
That is correct. I do want to interject. You don't have to live in Ohio to get a great guitar refinish or
No.
refurbish or any kind of whatever. He takes mail too, everybody. So
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
We get
get in
stuff from
contact
all
with
over the country, even different parts of the world.
Nice.
Fantastic. We do have a lot of international listeners too. So, and if you can't get a hold of him for whatever reason, please get a hold of us, and we will put you in contact with him. Okay, everybody. Jared, how about you?
You almost even forgot my name. So jared.allen.brandon is the Instagram handle. Please send me a message, and thank you to the folks that chat with me from time to time. I appreciate it. We could talk about pickups. We could talk about, anything you want to talk about.
You
I
ran
don't
out
know
of
everything.
things real
but we
quick
could
there,
talk.
didn't you?
I know, I did. Mostly pickups.
Or
but,
other things.
tell me about your favorite guitar or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll chat with you.
Or Hellcats.
Yes, I do have one of those.
You can shoot me a DM on Instagram at Guitar Knobs. We would love to hear from you. Give us a would you rather. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you like about the show, or what you don't. We'll listen to that too. We just want to connect with you. That's what this is all about. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who do connect with me and the rest of the guys on a weekly basis. It's just such an added awesomeness to what we do here. So, all right, I'm shutting up. Have a fantastic guitar week, everybody, and subscribe.
Yeah.
See ya.
What was I saying?
What is the square
You-
root
you
of
asked.
797?
I'll ask. Here we go.
Michael, how do you say his last name? No, I have a voice.
It's just Mike. Just go Mike.
Mike Natsanale.
And like, glad that you dropped in, Jared. And
I need to more often.
yes,
I do want to.
because without that, we
Yes.
wouldn't know the history of Lay's guitar.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
I know that trek well. I'm from Youngstown. You got a problem with that?
So,
Was it Naziant?
You got it right. Nazionale.
Is it really Nazianale?
Nazionale.
I'm just gonna say Michael.
New guy.
I got that. Am I keeping you up?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Nazionale.
Tony, you're very serious right now.
I'm a professional.
I dusted off the old terrible accent there.
Yeah. Why? No, now I got to cut that out. Everybody's going to know what it is. It's supposed to be a surprise. You boob.
All right. Can we turn these lights down a
If you see
little
a cockroach, his name is Mike. And
bit? He's a guest that didn't leave.
he's got a gold tooth. That be the show then.
Yes. It's the pirate show.
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.